Kevin Pietersen is not just one of the greatest cricketers of our generation, but he's also a commentator now and a passionate conservationist. And it's my pleasure to have him here on Republic TV as we begin another unique season of the Indian Premier League. Kevin, first of all, thanks a lot for speaking to us. I hope you're doing well. You've been in Dubai for a few days now. First of all, I want to begin by asking you, what is it like really to be in a bubble right now? Cricket has started again, and that's a relief for everyone. But what's really the experience like?
You know what? Having been at home in the UK since February, March time, I think the last trip that I had was in India. I was shooting that documentary that we're going to talk about on the Indian Rhino, and they were closing down airports all over the world. And luckily, we got from Guwahati to Delhi, Delhi to London. I got out just in time before they closed everything down. And that was the last trip that I was on. So if that was February, March, when I was sitting in September, it's been a long time just being at home. And I loved it. I absolutely loved the time at home. I was worried about coming into isolation and being in solitary confinement. I've not seen anybody apart from having a coronavirus test. I've had 2 so far. I've got another one tomorrow to clear me for the Mumbai Indians versus CSK game on Saturday. And I thought that I was going to hate it. However, I've got so much work done. I've got a crazy amount of work done. There's no kids screaming and shouting and playing with the kids. There's no dogs barking. There's no running around doing chores. I have literally got an office set up there. I have a bike set up here. I've been able to train. I've been able to work. I've been able to catch up on so many things just with a clear focus on being able to not be interrupted. So surprisingly, as nervous as I was coming, I've loved it.
So is it not too much? Like some players are saying that, you've got to get tested repeatedly and you can't move freely. It must really be a very different than a normal cricket experience, a commentator experience for you.
Well, you know what? I've treated this as a week of work. I've treated this like this has just been my office for the week. And I have got so much work done. I had to, as part of a show in India, I spoke to Mr. Anand Mahindra yesterday for an hour. I've got so many different work things going on. I've got this show to launch, so I've had to be looking at trailers and understanding what to do and what not to do. I've got my Sarai brand launching in a couple of weeks globally. So believe me, I've only slept when I've needed to sleep or when I've had to sleep. The rest of the time, I have been grafting.
Okay. So very productive time for you. Now the
Crazy.
IPL is... Okay, so the IPL is starting. You've already been on record to say that you hope that the Delhi team wins this time, but can they really? What has been your assessment so far of your former team?
That is my heart talking. I don't know whether my head would say the same thing. I've got to watch these teams over the next 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks of the competition, I need to watch them, and luckily, I'll be in a position to watch them from the commentary box. My heart wants Delhi Capitals to win, but it's different territories. I've just covered the Australia versus England T20 games in Southampton, and it's completely different. The whole look and feel of the ground is different. The environment is different. There's no atmosphere. So we'll have to wait and see. It's heart that gave that shout out last week. Head may be different in a week or so.
Before we start, before you get a closer look at how everybody performs, because everybody's playing after quite a bit of time, who is looking like the strongest? Are Mumbai again title favorites?
No idea. No idea.
No.
No idea. No idea who the favorites are. This is completely different. There's no fans. There's no buzz. There's no excitement. There's no idea.
Yeah, it could go very differently than anybody can imagine, surely. What do you think it's like for a player, because spectators are so important in a sport like cricket? What is it like to play without them? What would your assessment be of that? Is it less pressure, actually?
There's more pressure to get yourself up to continually perform, because for the superstars, they need atmosphere. They are showmen. And when their showmanship dissipates purely because of the lack of atmosphere in the ground, it can affect performance. And we've seen that in a couple of sports. And it'll be, like I say, the head will be watching over the next 2 weeks to see who's playing well, who's not playing well, who can handle turning up with nobody watching, and who can't.
Before we move on, I have to ask you about the retirement of Mahendra Singh Dhoni, and it's been such a shock for everybody, because I think in India he's at a pedestal above just a cricketer, captain, a match winner. He's a little bit more than that. Your thoughts on his retirement? Was it the right time, you think, for him? IPL could be perhaps the very last time we see him.
Listen, your body tells you when it's time to retire. It's not up to me to say whether it was a good time or a bad time for MS to retire. I've retired. I did it 2 years ago. Your body eventually says to you, I don't want to do another training session. I don't want to get on another aeroplane. I do not want to go and field anymore. I don't want to go and bat anymore. And I certainly want to pick and choose what I do going forward, having had the career that he's had. So it's up to him to make the decisions. We just got to respect it.
But how do you look back at his career? How would you define Mahendra Singh Dhoni and the success that he's had as India's, captain, batsman, wicket-keeper, and so much more?
Yeah, fabulous leader, led by example. And I think one thing that fascinates all of us from around the world is how calm he was under pressure.
Absolutely. So I want to move forward also on the trip that you mentioned. The last time you traveled, you said you were in India, and actually you were paying a visit to Kaziranga National Park, which is home to the Indian rhinoceros. And you're very passionate about the conservation of the rhinos. A little bit more about how your trip was like.
It was fascinating. It was absolutely beautiful. I'd never been on safari in India. I'd always done cricket ground, hotel, airport, cricket ground, hotel, airport. And to be landing in Delhi, transferring through to Guwahati, driving through to Kaziranga National Park, staying there for 2 weeks, filming the sunrises and sunsets and meeting the beautiful people and seeing the magnificence of Kaziranga National Park, and understanding the importance of the relationship between the animals and the humans with no fence. Also understanding the travesty that happens every single year when the Brahmaputra River floods and animals and humans lose their lives because of that huge river that bursts its banks. It was an eye-opener. It was educational, and everybody is going to love the story because Indian conservation is a global leader in the world of conservation. The impact that they're having on their animals up there is second to none. They are doing the most fabulous job. And I think India is going to be so proud of the men and women that safeguard their animals up in that region. I hope we've done them proud by telling a beautiful story and painting the most perfect picture for them, because we were looked after so well. And I suppose this is my greatest gift that I could ever give back to India. I've been so lucky to profit from India culturally, financially, friendship-wise, and I think for me, being able to give back to India in showing off its beauty and how wonderful the people are, and the safari experience, and just the lovable relationship that I have with this country is something that I hope people will love.
Unfortunately, the state of Assam and Kaziranga National Park once again did suffer floods this year, and there were lives lost. But a lot of positive stories of how humans came out to help the animals in Kaziranga National Park were also very endearing, and that's really the spirit with which the human population and the animal population lives together. And we certainly hope that they flourish. I do want to ask you that the World Rhino Day is coming up on September 22. What is the message that you want to give to everybody listening? Now, you're a conservationist, but you're also in an influential position But what can an ordinary person do to help save wildlife?
An ordinary person can understand that we are in a global pandemic at the moment because of the illegal wildlife trade. The illegal wildlife trade has us all locked up in our homes. Me locked up here in Dubai, you guys all locked up. Every single economy in the world is suffering because of the illegal wildlife trade. So when you look at it from that perspective, it should be an absolute no-brainer coming out of COVID-19 for people to consistently talk about the value of nature, the value of our planet, and try and be more positive and be more assertive in the way that they go about their daily lives. They can cut their emissions. They can be positive on social media regarding animals, regarding conservation, regarding climate change. We can protect all our animals. It's up to governments to protect the animals. It's up to governments to care. And when you have a look at what's happening up there in Northeast India, the job that they are doing up there is phenomenal. Phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal.
Well, we're certainly very happy with that. But I do want to ask you, Kevin, when is it and how is it that you started on this journey? What was the time in your life or the circumstances that you became so passionate about conserving wildlife, and especially the rhino?
I am South African. I know that I had a career in England and I live in England, but I am South African. And when you're born in Africa, you just cannot take that out of you. So my African spirit is there. It will always be there. And I went back to South Africa in 2013 on a safari trip, which educated me around how bad rhino poaching was and how they were killing off an entire species of animal. So when I understood that and I watched that and I saw what was going on, I was trying to use my profile for good. And I've been banging the drum ever since. We shot our first National Geographic documentary on the South African rhino in 2017, 18. I don't know, I'm losing my mind with what year we're in. I said, we just waste this year. It was a couple of years ago. And we are obviously now so excited about our next documentary airing on Tuesday on National Geographic Wild at 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. and Disney Hotstar VIP. So we are buzzing. And you know what? I want to do more of these shows in India. There are so many more stories to tell in India, and I'm desperate to do many more.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, and thank you for the words for the Indian conservation effort. India has done remarkably well, not just for the rhinos, but also, of course, for the tiger population, which is also, growing every year in India. And over the last few years, we've seen a lot of awareness built, and therefore common citizens also become more aware about the need to conserve not just nature as a whole, but also wildlife. So, Kevin, before I end, I just want to, thank you once again and ask you, when can we see you in India, since you're so keen to come back here? We would love to see you in India.
I'll be back as soon as I can come back. I'm here now because the Indian Premier League is here. If it was in India, I'd probably be in India, but I will be back as soon as I can be back.
Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Ridhim Anand Bhardwaj. Thanks for checking out Republic World. If you would like to watch more show highlights and live coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the Republic World News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.